Today we have our very first guest appearance ever on the podcast. He is a person who I'm convinced is one of the fastest up-and-coming names in the world of axe restoration and collecting. He's a career firefighter, a father, an innovator in the world of axes, and he's a good friend of mine. So, tuning in all the way from New Hampshire, we have Ryan Sarratori from Granite Kova Axes. Stay tuned. Glad I'm not also wearing buffalo plaid, because it would have been a little awkward. Both of us rocking that on the screen.
Would it have been, though?
No, it would have been great, actually. Great minds think alike and all that, I feel. Well, we'll start off. So we got Ryan Sarratori from Granite Kova. What are you drinking, Ryan? Little icebreaker.
Tall boy Bud Light, because I'm white trash.
My God, tall boy Bud Light. Well, I guess if you drink a Bud Light, you make the left and the right happy. So, there you go. Split the difference.
Well, I don't really keep beer in the house, so when I want to do something like this, instead of buying like a 6-pack or a 12-pack or whatever, I just go grab a tall boy, because they're like $2.
There you go. I like it.
Yeah, I was getting a little bit of an unhealthy relationship with beer, and so I was like, best to just not keep it in the house, except for special occasions.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Then you always have that beer that's like the craft beer that somebody brings over when you're having a house party, and it kind of just lives in the back of your fridge for 6 months because you never want to drink it.
No, I love craft beer, so I'll drink that too.
Okay, that's where we draw the line on our differences.
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking Costco spiced rum.
Oh, Costco sells rum?
Costco's got a whole big liquor store built into it. It's pretty nice. We'll start off with some questions, Ryan. First off, just go ahead, tell us about yourself. How'd you get into axes?
Well, I kind of have always used them. Where we grew up was a really old kind of farmhouse, and it's a funny story how we ended up getting it. We got it on my mother got it on a foreclosure because apparently the guy bought it during, like, right before Y2K, when everybody thought everything was gonna crash. So Y2K happened, and lo and behold, nothing changed. So he was trying to live there. It was going to be like his little homestead settlement thing, but he heard a buck running in one of the back fields and thought it was a demon and left and never paid his mortgage again. So the bank took it and it went into foreclosure, and that's how my mom ended up being able to grab it for absolute pennies. It was a really poor town too, so the farm was great, but like the rest of your kind of quintessential one blinking light. The post office, police department, and volunteer fire department are all the same building. There's a gas station, one family-owned DVD rental shop that has been there since they were probably renting out, like, real filament bullshit things, and like an arcade store. And that was it.
Wow.
So on that property, we had one wood-burning stove that heated the whole house, and we would split, fell, and cord up all of our own wood to heat the house. So it was in Western New York, over by Ledgewood State Park, by the gorge, and we were at the highest point, so we were just constantly getting wind just beating the shit out of the area. So we had to burn a lot of wood.
Is that in the part of New York that you have to worry about the lake effect wind at?
Yeah. The snow. Everybody likes to classify New York State as you have upstate New York and then you have the city. But if you're actually from the state, there's more than that. You have like upstate, Western New York, the southern tier, you have the Finger Lakes region, like anything. If you're closer to it, you're more specified. And then obviously the city, which is a dumpster fire. But
yeah.
That whole state's a dumpster fire. I'm so glad I don't live there anymore.
I don't blame you at all. I know we got a couple buddies that live in New York, and it seems like they're just behind enemy lines over there.
Yeah.
So you got your childhood house from a guy that saw a demon deer. Wendigo, if you will.
Yeah.
If you want to put it that way.
A skinwalker.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's weird how it works out that a demon deer ended up bringing you into the axe game, but you sound like one of those people that you got into the axe game through pure necessity. Splitting wood, cutting your own wood, heating your house.
Well, and it really was. But at that point, like, I was younger. I didn't have any of my own money. This was shit. I was probably 8, 9, 10 years old, 12, and we like it was all just we didn't have money, so it was hand-me-down tools we got from other farmers for helping them do work on their land haying and stuff like that. A lot of hay farms around there, a couple cattle ranches, but and so it was like the crummy fiberglass handled power craft bullshit, like the Neo Michigan patterns from whatever you could get at Tractor Supply with those the Polar chainsaws and just not good stuff. And how I kind of got into the vintage stuff, the night stuff, was searching for a creative hobby that I could do to help a little bit with my mental health, because it was recommended to me. And I had experience with gunsmithing, I had experience with carpentry, and so I was like, well, metalwork, woodwork, I like axes, they're nostalgic to me, so let's try it out. And just scoured Facebook Marketplace and found a handful of them, and I already had a lot of the tools that I would need to do it, so I was like, well, this should be a fairly cheap hobby to get into. And it was arguably top 5 decisions I've made in my life, because it is awesome.
How long ago did you make that decision? Or how long ago did you get into hanging axes?
Actually, the full restoration hanging, probably about a year and a half, 2 years. And then probably about a year ago, I really started diving into handle making.
Right on. Do you think the experience of you using really shitty, poor quality tools growing up, just hand-me-downs, as you said, shaped your view on appreciating a nice vintage axe?
100%. And I have like super, I'm sure you do too. We're, you know, I'm pretty sure we're less than a year apart in age. Right, where of that big generation of everything's disposable. So everything's plastic or polyester or bullshit, and it's so cheap it's not worth repairing. And so when it breaks, it just gets thrown out, it doesn't get fixed. Well, I love a story. And when I heard my parents talk about, oh, this right here, this is so cool, your great-grandfather brought this over from Italy, and he passed it down to your grandfather, who, gave it to your dad, and like there was a genuine fear that I really wouldn't have anything that was worth kind of passing down to keep in the family, because everything was just plastic and junk. So finding the vintage tools and being able to keep those going was very rewarding.
I could definitely agree with that. The very first axe that I ever hung, I was 13 or 14. And it was an old, like, Century Hardware Company double bit axe that was in my grandpa's shed. Broken handle, rusted out. Restored it, went through the whole process. Bunch of trial and error type stuff. But at the end of it, I had a nice axe that I felt was my own. Something that I could take care of, pass down. The handle is since broken. That happened last year. But I'm going to keep that head for my daughter when she gets old enough to hang an axe. So just that thing you were talking about, just passing down those nice tools for generations, because yeah, you're right, we definitely do live in a disposable society.
And the older things, the character they get, like through the restoration process, there are times where, right, because it's a business for me, well, a side business for me now, and people will bring me, heads that maybe Grandpa used the side of it to drive metal wedges. And so the stamp or the etching or something will be absolutely destroyed, and I have that conversation with them. Like, I can make this look really nice. I'm going to take a lot of meat off of the sidewalls, which could make it, more brittle, or not more brittle, but more prone to deforming and things like that. But I definitely recommend kind of leaving it there, because it's the character. When you talk to somebody about this, you can say, that's where my grandpa did that. That's where his father did that. Like, there's character and history in some of the defects that I really think should, in a lot of cases, be left.
Oh yeah, the patina. That term gets thrown around a bunch, but
yep.
Patina, just the character that it has built into it, the soul of the axe, if you will. I think that's where a lot of us have an issue with some people that restore axes. They'll just make the whole thing super polished and take away all that character, but you're trying to leave that character and try to recommend people to kind of, hey, I think you should leave this. Sounds like you're doing a pretty good job with that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And for the viewers, if you have no idea who Ryan is, I'll punch I'll post a bunch of pictures on the side. You can see some of his work. Excellent stuff. Excellent craftsman. So, when it comes to you hanging axes, when did you start making your own handles? What drove you to want to start making your own handles? You said about a year ago?
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, I was struggling to find a particular pattern, and it's the my classic pattern as it's marketed as, and it's I feel like the majority of people that are making good quality axe handles, like Whiskey River, and that's basically it at this point. Um, they are either doing straight handles, which are awesome, or they're doing more of a early, like turn of the century 1900s borderline French curve, which I love and it feels great to swing. I just wanted a curved handle like a lot of the vintage handles that I had, and like the ones that I remember swinging when I was a kid. Because although the majority of what we used were those crummy Powercraft stuff, if I went to Grandpa's house, he had good tools. So I'd get to use like a nice wood handled axe, and it felt so different. So I ended up taking a kind of that 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s era American curved handle, or bent handle, I think they were marketed as, replicating the handle, and that's what I ended up using to make my pattern. And I love it. So the search to find that handle, to find kind of Grandpa's axe, was a huge part of it. And through figuring out and replicating it the first time, in the process of sourcing out the lumber, realized that I'm extremely lucky to have the lumber yard as close to my house as I do, that is effectively the best exotic and hardwood yard in like all of New England, because I live in New Hampshire. It's like 35 minutes from my house. That's where the people that maintain the USS Constitution come to get their quarterstone white oak. And so having the luxury of having it there, I didn't have a good excuse not to really start getting into the handles once I kind of worked the bugs out, got my system down the first time, and put out that pattern. Because since then, I've also come out with the mutt, and there's a couple others that I'm in the process of working on, and it's so rewarding to be that invested, right? I feel like with most things, when you're having a hobby, you're trying to get to the next level of depth in regards to how involved can I be in this process. So restoring the head, sharpening it, hanging it on a handle that's bought. All right, well, now we're going to make a handle, but we're going to copy an existing one we have, or copy a pattern. All right, now we're going to create a pattern. So it's just trying to get to the next level of just complete involvement in the entire process.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And at the very end of it, you just make something that is just entirely Granite Kova right there. Do you think creating your own handle patterns makes you a better axeman? Does it make you want to perform better when you actually swing the axe? Do you do a lot of axemanship still, or do you just mostly make and hang the axes?
Oh, yeah. No, so I swing axes as often as I possibly can. And I always joke with my wife where when I was a kid and I had to stack wood, I get grumpy. Now as an adult, I'm like, hey, can I go process up some wood so I can get a stack going? Like, it's enjoyable for me. So I try to do as much as possible. Interestingly enough, I feel like developing patterns almost could make you a worse axeman. Because, right, I'm going to make a pattern that is going to work well for me. Well, if I have a bunch of bad habits, I'm just making a handle that allows me to have bad habits.
That's an interesting take. Honestly, I didn't think about it at the moment, because I've made my own handles before. I do have certain quirks, if you will, about how I use an axe. And if I designed a handle for me, say one that harkened to one of those quirks, you're right, it definitely could make you a worse axeman, especially if you used a handle that you designed for you and you gave it to somebody else and they didn't have the same quirk. yeah, I could see how it would go both ways.
I don't know. I mean, I don't consider myself a poor axeman, but I can, if I'm being 100% honest, I can see how if you are making patterns just because you suck at swinging an axe and you want something that makes it appear better, then you're not improving.
Yeah, it's almost like those people that do 3-gun competitions. They shoot pistols a bunch, and they're just like, well, I kind of suck at shooting a pistol, so I'm just going to add all this other stuff onto it to compensate for the fact that I have really poor fundamentals. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you said your grandpa had a bunch of old axes when you went over to his house. This was in New York. Do you remember any of those patterns? Did he have any Adirondack handles, for instance?
All I remember is a shitload of Daytons and a couple Michigan pattern double bits. Nothing fancy, nothing extravagant. Probably stuff that, he got from I don't even know if, I'm assuming True Value was around then, but Sears Roebuck, shit like that. It was nothing that was particularly extravagant, but I mean, also, the Kelly Wood slashers were their seconds. That was their kind of like, these are our, air quotes, shitty axes.
Budget line, go knock yourself out, guys, yeah.
Yeah. But now we're looking at these as like, the quality of steel is just as good as a flint edge, just as good as a world's finest, but they just weren't as refined. And so, if the quality of steel is just as good, I can put a good edge on it, throw a really nice handle into it. Like, why not?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Do you think if your grandpa had a super nice, like a flint edge or a black raven, the ones that everybody's always drooling over nowadays, or like a nice etched axe, do you think he was the type of person to treat it any differently or put it on a pedestal, or do you think he would just view it as like, well, it's a tool. I'm going to use it like a tool and just put it to work?
That one. My grandfather was not, both of them, they were not hang stuff on the wall people. They were very much, I'm going to get this, and if it's a nice thing, I'm going to get it so that I never have to replace it. And if I feel like I'm going to need to replace it, then I'm not going to get the nice thing. I'm just going to get a more budget-friendly equivalent that I can beat the shit out of. Like, both of them were very much kind of men's men. My grandfather on my dad's side, he was a union electrician and welder and traveled fucking everywhere after he left the union to get his second pension, because back then you were allowed to do that. And my grandfather on my mother's side, Navy vet, just salt of the earth, went into politics at one point, just same way though, like had a loom in his basement, and would make his own rugs, like a lot of the stuff that they did was passed down to them from their Depression era parents.
Getting raised by Depression era people, that's next level. Definitely embeds itself in their kids and just rubs down to us in a way. Yeah, so super salt of the earth roots that you come from.
Yeah. Right. And now we are surrounded by not salt of the earth people, and it's confusing and it's scary, and sometimes I don't like it.
Yeah, it's the same people that are just viewing everybody that's in like the tool restoration hobby or the axe hobby, just like, well, what do you mean? What do you mean the axe costs that much money? You're like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. It's not going to be like an Ace Hardware Collins axe. Like, this thing is almost 100 years old. Metallurgy, it's going to hold up. Don't worry. So yeah, it's just, the hobby is definitely something that disposable people have a hard time grasping.
Yeah. What I've found works well for me, and I've never addressed it with a customer because I have enough work coming in to keep me busy, where last year I had to close my books. This year I'm going to have to close my books. That I don't, if somebody just has that attitude, it's like, okay, sorry, I guess it's not for you. I appreciate the inquiry. Have a great day. God bless. And, but like when I talk about it with like close friends, and I can actually have that candid conversation, and they're like, I can't believe that it's, you're charging blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, how much is an hour of your time worth? Like, how much do you make at your full-time job? And they're like, oh, X amount. I'm like, okay. Well, if I'm putting 6 hours between making a handle, restoring the head, clearing up mushrooming, sharpening, hanging, oiling, all that stuff, that's about equivalent to what you think an hour of your time is worth. So why is an hour of my time worth less? And that kind of then clicks in their head where they're like, oh, shit, okay, yeah, I guess you're right.
People definitely have a hard time grasping it initially, but yeah, when you do explain it like that, you're just, well, this is how long it actually takes me to fully restore an axe. That, for one, most of the time they don't realize how long it actually takes to go through the whole process of finding the rusty head. If you're making the handle, add some more time. All this other stuff compounded, and you also factor in materials like belt grinders, different things like that, plus the actual skilled labor that you put into it, which not a lot of people have, let's be honest. And so, yeah, all that in one, that kind of justifies the price.
Absolutely. Like, the disposable stuff that people don't see with any industry, right? Like, so I have linseed oil, wax, belts, sanding discs. Obviously, files are disposable to an extent, so those will burn up at some point. But like my file key, anything I'm using for that, like that stuff all wears out, and there is a portion of that, all of that, that has to be worked into the price, the hourly rate, effectively, because you can't itemize all that stuff and then fuck one customer. So you just kind of factor that in. It's like there's a lot more that goes into this than just taking a head and sticking it on a piece of wood.
Yeah, I think making axes and selling axes has definitely made me appreciate small businesses. If I see somebody who has a small business, even if it's not axe related at all, and I see their prices are a little bit higher, you kind of understand where they're coming from at that point. You're not just sitting there like, oh, they're trying to price gouge and like corner the market for this. No, they're trying to factor in overhead and actually make a profit instead of just breaking even.
Well, and it's really sad, too, when people try to nickel and dime small businesses. I can't remember where I read it, but there was some statistic or some metric that I read that was like 95% of small businesses. It was in the 90s. I'm pretty sure it was 95% of small business owners at some point will have to pay their employees with their personal credit card because they don't have enough money in their account to cover payroll.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just kind of the sacrifice.
So now they're paying interest on fucking payroll. That's terrible.
And if you make that a routine,
because you think that this handmade product or whatever, you want it for fucking $2 because you can get it at Walmart for that much. It's like, well, it's a totally different thing.
Yeah, and a lot of those products come from other countries, like in the axe world. It's like Pakistan, India, where the cost of living, let's be honest, bottomed out compared to like American cost of living. So yeah, you might be paying somebody else's cost of living, but that's nowhere near America's cost of living and what it actually makes and takes to make one of those tool equivalents in the United States. Completely different ballpark.
Yeah. That and those different countries also have different labor laws, right? So like, if they're trying to figure out cost of living and wages based on cost of living, but the difference is that we're working an average, air quotes, 8-hour day, but they're working an average, air quotes, 14-hour day, they can pay them less to still cover the cost of living. That's more big brain stuff than I have the motivation to try to sort out. That's world problems issues, and I'm trying to solve Ryan problem issues.
Well said. Well, humble said. So let's go ahead and just dial it back a little bit. Let's talk about some Ryan stuff. So when did you, for those of you that don't know, Ryan's got a pretty nice social media following. So let's talk about that. When did you get into social media, TikTok? When did you decide to start posting stuff online?
That was probably about a year and a half ago. A little over a year ago, I think. Year and a half. And that was because I had in my head, I'd done a podcast previously, I did some other content creation previously, and I love the idea of the storytelling aspect. I love the idea of kind of sharing something that I'm passionate about. If somebody is having a conversation with me and it's about a topic that I am not remotely interested in, but they're passionate about it, I will listen for hours because I'm attracted to that passion for what it is. And So I like also sharing that passion with other people, and I figured, well, why not try to share with as many people as possible? And if I am legitimately trying to build this into a business, which at the time I didn't know if it was going to be that, then it's also a wonderful marketing and advertisement tool. And so for about 6 months or so, I started really hammering out a solid list of things that I wanted to get accomplished, so that when I did launch, or rather start doing the social media, like, a lot was hammered out. I didn't want one of those pages or one of those channels where it's the name changes 3 times and the logo changes 100 times and there's no continuity of content, and the first 6 months the audio quality sucks or the lighting sucks or this, that, and the other. So once I got to a point where I had what I felt was enough of those boxes kind of checked off, excuse me, I filmed some stuff to basically put together a video storyboard, because I had like the shot angles I wanted, and I knew the type of content that I wanted to do. And so I filmed it and I sent it off to Joel, who's a buddy of ours, and he bullied me into posting it.
Ryan's talking about Joel. You can find him on Burn Bevel Sharpening. We've both known him for a long time. Great guy. All right, continue, Ryan.
Yes, also Joel is arguably one of the most kind, sincere people I've ever met in my life. But he effectively was like, you need to post this or I'm going to post it. Something along the lines like that. And I was like, all right, fine. So this video that I assumed was, or intended to just be more or less a storyboard, ended up being the first video that I posted. And it did well. And, you know, you get that dopamine rush of like, oh, people actually like this. This is cool. I'm going to post some more. And it just kind of snowballed.
It's a weird feeling initially, especially if you're like a semi-introverted person. You start posting this stuff for one reason or another, and then it just blows up and people start interacting with you. It's a strange feeling at first. Yeah, you're right.
It's hard for me because I have like terrible imposter complex. So when I get the views, when I get the praise, my brain's like, oh, it's not legitimate.
It is super easy to fall into that imposter syndrome every once in a while. Like, some people might hunt views like a mother effer. Like, there's some super people out there that are just obsessed with vanity, if you would put it that way, just hunting all these views. But if you're not that type of person, then you just start getting your inbox flooded with all these views and comments. It just doesn't seem real.
Yeah, it's like it's I feel like a lot of it is attention seeking. If it's the wrong person doing it.
I feel like as a creator and as a viewer to some extent, you can kind of see when it is attention seeking and when it's not genuine. Yeah. I've never gotten that with any of your videos that I've watched. It always seems super genuine from the 0-second mark all the way to the end of the video.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. Authenticity is something that's always really meant a lot to me. So, like, when I do obviously the typical style of content is the sped up transition to audio builds. Well, if I'm doing like an unboxing or a product review or whatever it is, I've never once written a script. I might in my head have an idea of like, oh, this would be a funny intro, but I more or less will have that, and then I'll have like talking points, and then I just go through it, because if I feel like I'm reading off a script, it's not going to come off as genuine or authentic.
You do definitely get like the robot tendency if you have a script. Like, I've read off a script a couple times. Mostly it's for videos where I'm doing a bunch of different character acting, but yeah, it doesn't feel genuine. You watch the takes when you go to edit, and you're like, all right, well, you look like a lifeless robot. So bullshitting with just key talking points is definitely the way to go, and a good way to stay genuine.
Or if you are trying to make a video while you have dysentery.
Yeah. Yep, that's definitely true. For those of you that don't know, I, for one reason or another, found myself on the Oregon Trail. I got dysentery. Thought it was a good idea to make a video after that. You could tell, but I was dressed up as a Viking, and that was the most historically accurate thing in that video. We can all laugh about it now.
better than getting bit by a rattlesnake.
100%. I'd rather have dysentery than get bit by a rattlesnake. At least with dysentery, though you may want it to happen, you don't have the chance to lose a limb. Well,
Yeah.
it feels like you did, because you're sitting on the toilet for so long, your legs fall asleep, but not literally.
How deep were the red marks above your
Yeah,
knees?
you can only
from your elbows
you can
with
only
the phone.
sit on the phone post for so long before you just yeah. So talking about social media, go ahead and tell the viewers all your usernames, your handles, where they can find you at, in case anybody doesn't know.
So Granite Kova is the business name, and TikTok is Granite Kova. The Facebook page is Granite Kova. Instagram, which I'm unfortunately the least active on, is Granite Kova Tools, because apparently Granite Kova was taken somehow. And that's pretty much it. I have a link tree that has all those there, but no Twitter or anything like that. Just pretty much Facebook and TikTok and Instagram is pretty much. Oh, YouTube. I started YouTube like a month ago because I wanted to start getting into some more long form stuff. And when I was looking at it, I figured TikTok allows long form, but the user of that application doesn't, in my head, people who are on TikTok are there for short view content or short stream content, whatever the term I'm looking for is. And people that are on YouTube are probably looking for more long-term content or long-form content. So I figured just break them up. I'll do more long-form stuff on YouTube, and I'll just keep doing the 1 minute to 2 minute stuff on TikTok.
Let's be honest. If you're on TikTok and you're just scrolling through and you see a video and you hit it and you see that it's 10 minutes long, there is almost a 0% chance you're going to sit there and commit to that entire video where you're just sitting there. YouTube, you can put it up on the TV. Yeah, more likely to commit to a longer video. You're 100% right.
Well, and right, it's the platform. So when you have somebody who is on TikTok, like you said, they're in their For You page and they're just swiping. Versus when somebody goes to YouTube, generally speaking, at least from what I would assume, they're going there to look something up specifically. There's not like a For You page. There's a recommended videos thing, but it's not as simple as just swiping. So if somebody's typing in, how do I treat a whiteout candle, they're invested in that enough to where they're going to watch that 10-minute long video. Versus somebody who's on TikTok who's just like, meh, 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 you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. For those of you guys that don't know, you can probably agree, Ryan, TikTok versus YouTube, when you go to post content, completely different beast. Like, you can post something that's stupid on TikTok and it'll blow up. YouTube, you kind of got to refine the edges a little bit more to get that video some traction. Like, it's YouTube's more of the upgrade when you come to content creating.
Absolutely, and I've noticed from the views that I've gotten, it feels like, and I talked. So Brandon Roost is a friend of both of ours. He owns Whiskey River Trading. They make a lot of handles, and he and I talked about it at one point where the one nice thing about TikTok is that the majority of people that are using TikTok are also creating on TikTok versus the majority of people on Facebook or YouTube are just going there to either look up something or this and the other. So the comment section differs so drastically from both, where in TikTok I feel like these are also people that make videos, even if it's just a shitty video of like audio to a couple cuts of different still images that they have. They're more apt to say positive things versus YouTube and Facebook, where they're just like, this dude didn't say the thing that I wanted to say, so fuck him.
Absolutely. TikTok comment sections have the tendency to be just lawless wastelands, but it's all generally positive. YouTube, on the other hand, whether it be like the older demographic, they can be a lot more critical about the content.
Oh, and I'm sure that plays a huge role, right? TikTok is predominantly used by people that are in the younger demographic as opposed to Facebook and YouTube, which are adults.
Yeah. So speaking of all that and the demographics, how do you as a businessman view those platforms as marketing tools? Did it help, hinder? What's been your experience?
Oh, 100% helped, right? Like, if you're an electrician and you letter your truck that says, hey, I could wire your house for you, and you put a yard sign up, people that drive by are going to take a picture, call, and they're going to inquire about that. But with something as niche as axe restoration and handle making, if you did that same marketing style of like a trade, what's the odds that there's 6 people that are actually going to contact you? So having the ability to use social media to kind of really broaden your reach, but just to get that business in is super beneficial.
Especially when it's something like an axe that is a material good that you can ship instead of just like a service like being an electrician. So definitely a modern, untapped resource, social media marketing. It's what a lot of big businesses are turning to for good reason.
And 100%. And part of the reason why I feel like I've been as successful as I am is that this is a very odd hobby to get into at our age. I feel like most of the people that do shit like this are not very old, but older, and they probably live in a Aerostream camper in the woods and think the government's trying to get them, so I can't have a computer. Well, if you do that, then guess what? You have zero way to market.
Yeah.
And so, because the demographic of people that do what we do aren't advertising or marketing, then it just leaves a bigger pond for people who understand social media and can do it to fish from.
100%. How old are you, if you don't mind sharing?
31, I think. Pretty sure I'm 31. Once I hit like 29, or 28, I just stopped giving a shit.
Hell yeah.
So I regularly will have the conversations with people, and like, oh yeah, I'm 30, and my wife's like, no, you're 31. I'm like, am I fucking that old? Damn it!
You have like an existential crisis right there in your head. You're like, fuck, I am old. Yeah, like when you say, oh, he's an axeman or he's a lumberjack, people always think like these old crusty guys wearing like suspenders and flannels in the woods, like you were saying. They don't ever think about like the gen or millennial demographic doing any of that shit.
The most air quotes axeman dude I know is my age, and I watched him steer a tree while it was falling by how he was using his chainsaw. He is a wizard, and basically how he got into it was a summer job when he was like 16, and he was just yanking branches to the wood chipper, and he loved it. And this dude cracked the code for happiness. He and his wife work very important jobs, right? He's a logger, she's an elementary school teacher, and they live below their means. So they have a very modest house, very modest vehicles, they don't flaunt anything. They just both do jobs that fulfill them and that they love more than anything in the world. And they're the happiest people I've ever met in my life. They've never once appeared to try to keep up with the Joneses, but he found this trade that he loved doing when he was like 15, 16 years old as effectively a laborer, and has worked his way up to the point now where he absolutely has the opportunity to run a crew if he wants to. He just likes climbing. So he'll go climb. He's like, I don't care. I don't need to make more money. I live under my means. Like, we live under our means. We don't need this giant extravagant house. We're happy at work. We're happy at home. They're just happy people. And I feel like people too often get caught up with that whole keeping up with the Joneses mindset of like, oh, well, I need to have the new iPhone or the new truck or whatever it might be. And like I said, I watched him steer a tree with his chainsaw as he was cutting it down. I've never seen him be able to do that. He's our age. He's not 50, 60, salt to the earth kind of guy. But he's been doing it for long enough and learned from that type of dude, that 56-year-old salt to the earth guy, to where he's a wizard when it comes to cutting trees down.
Truly the embodiment of if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Never. This dude is the same guy that, like, if he finds a penny on the ground, it's the best day he's had in a week. But the other days he had that week were phenomenal days. It's just he's excited about everything. Their whole family's like that. They're just awesome, genuinely happy people.
Just being around optimists like that makes it so much better. You could be having a super shitty day and they get
100%.
fired up about something simple, and it's just contagious. You're just like, all right, I guess I am going to smile today. All right, right on.
It's hard, too, because with my job, right, like, for those of you that don't know, Lyle does, I'm a career firefighter, and there's a joke that's like, if bitching was an Olympic sport, firefighters would win gold, silver, and bronze.
I like that.
Because, like, that's all they do. It's all firefighters do. We'll have these crazy, exciting moments, very brief moments throughout the day. If you're on a busy department, there's a shitload of them. If you're on a slower department, there's not many. But it's like, this is all amazing, this is all amazing, this is all amazing. But in the downtime in between, because people don't know how to actually, like, work through their own shit, how they cope with that is just bitching about everything. And so at work, I'm surrounded by pessimists. So to then have a break from that, we're going to hang out with Matt, and he's talking about his neighbor who has a cattle ranch, and I just got same-day steak. Like, that's his big thing. I got same-day steak. They harvested the cow that morning. This is the best steak in the world. That is the best steak of his entire life in that moment. And he genuinely believes that, and it just rubs off on you. It's amazing.
Everybody needs somebody like that in their life. If everybody had somebody like him, the world would be so much better.
100%.
It's funny you say that about, like, the bitching and all that with, like, firefighters. Like, if you don't know, I'm a crusty grunt in the infantry, in the army, and, like, just experiencing people just like that too, bitching, especially if you're in, like, a leadership position. Like, if you're firefighting and you have subordinates that are just always bitching, you're just like, oh my god. It just wears on you constantly. Especially if it already sucks and they just keep bitching, you're just like, all right, there's a point. Then it just sucks.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. Yeah, it's the stupid cliche term, right, is embraces suck. But, you know, you have moments like that where it's like, in a leadership position where you're looking at your guys and you're like, guys, I know it fucking sucks, but guess what? I'm with you right now. So it also sucks for me. So you bitching to me does nothing to fix the problem.
Yeah.
So how do we fix this?
100%. And sometimes if you just level with them like that, it makes it all better. And they're just like, all right, well, okay. We feel acknowledged. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Stop bitching.
All right, Sarn, I didn't realize you were that grumpy. All right, well, yeah, you're right. I guess it is so everybody.
Right. Social media does not help at all with today's youth. Just doom scrolling on there. Just, it's just bad news, bad news, bad news. So posting nice, fun axe videos on social media. Hopefully you can change some of that. Make people smile a little bit.
That, I feel like, has been, I think, a big driving factor in it. Where, like, yes, what I have the vested interest in with the content creation is, to a large extent, growing the business, right? Marketing. But at the end of the day, what I care more about than people sending me emails and saying, hey, I have this project that I'd like done, what would it cost? Is when I get the little comments where it's like, hey, I was having a shitty day, and the joke you made it fucking not bad anymore. Like, that, I feel like most people, if they don't, damn should, at least have a vested interest in trying to improve the day of somebody else. And to be able to do that with a goofy video and get a comment like, oh man, I love this musician that you put the audio in, and, you know, that was awesome. Like, I really enjoy that. That fulfills me.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, if you post a video and it gets no views, but it does get one view or it made somebody's day better, that video successful.
At the end of the day, everybody should genuinely care about making someone's day better. That's why, like, since the beginning of it, like, my goofy little sign-off thing has always been have a great day. Because, like, I genuinely, I want everyone to have a great day. I want you to have a good day. Even if I'm suffering and, like, I can't, I want you to. Because if I know I helped you have a good day, it at least makes mine a little less shitty.
Absolutely. Do you think hanging axes and being an axeman, just like caring about something like that, has made your average day better? Does it make you appreciate your days more if you can dedicate yourself to that kind of workmanship?
100%. So, I mentioned to you earlier about, like, somebody suggested I get into a creative hobby to help with mental health. That was because the department that I'm on is very progressive in regards to mental health. And so we have, every 6 months or so, a clinical psychologist who specializes in first responders, veterans, things like that, just talk to us. And so she's there for, we have 4 groups, we have a rotating schedule. So she's there for 4 days. Half the city goes and sees her in the morning, and then the other half goes in the afternoon. We both go in the morning technically, but, like, there's 2 blocks because we're only there for like an hour. And when these crews are out of service, the rest of the crews cover the city. When these crews are out of service, these crews cover the city. So that was one of the things she was talking about, like the stress cycle that military, veterans, first responders, people go through. And effectively she was saying, your guys' schedule, you work a day and then you have 3 days off, which, by the way, everybody hears and they're like, that's ridiculous. What's your full-time job? It's a 24-hour shift. So my joke of a job is at a minimum working 48 hours in a week versus your big boy job that is only 40. So get over yourself. I just work less days than you, but I work more hours. So, and also, I don't know a single firefighter that doesn't put in like 500 to 600 hours of overtime a year. So, also, get over yourself. But effectively what she was saying was, on average, when somebody experiences a moment where they need to go into, where they have the adrenaline dump and they kind of go to that hyper vigilant state, is the buzzword that she used. They're there for, like, however long they have to be there. And then as they start to come down, they go below the line of homeostasis, your normal line. And then you're in the lowest point as you start the recovery process before you get back to normal. That takes 3 days. That's for one incident. We're experiencing multiple of those incidents over a 24-hour period. So, like, our family is effectively getting us at our worst, and I didn't want that. So one of the ways that she suggested to this huge group of people was means of expediting that kind of, like, all right, I'm up, this is where I should be. I'm up here, I'm coming down, and now I'm back to normal. Expediting that process. And that was a creative hobby where you're with your hands and you can kind of process stuff. And I have never been able to process stuff better than when I'm creating, when I'm improving something, because there is a therapeutic aspect to, like, this would be in the trash. This is a hunk of garbage. And because of me, it's now not going to be in the garbage. I'm fixing it. And almost seeing yourself in the piece that you're working on, it is therapeutic. And so if I have a horrible fucking shift and I come home and do whatever I gotta do, and then I get a little bit of time in the shop to make a handle or fix a hat or whatever it is, like, I'm a better husband, I'm a better dad, I'm a better, friend to people reaching out to me, Because otherwise I'm just grumpy. Because I'm tired and thinking about other stuff and I'm not present. Like, presence in the moment has been the thing that has been affected the most by restoring axes, for me at least.
It's a really good take. Would you recommend people that might be struggling with mental health in the audience to take up this hobby, restore some axes, or even other tools, or just use their hands in general?
100%. There is something therapeutic about feeling broken and making something that is broken not broken. Like working through it through the piece. And whether that's painting or poetry or writing songs or whatever it is, right? Effectively, at the end of the day, this is just art. The only difference is that instead of using paint or clay, my medium is wood and steel. And also, most importantly, if you are struggling with mental health, there is a million avenues with professionals to seek help that you need. Like, please do. And I'm so happy that that stigma of like seeking help makes you weak is finally starting to go away.
Yeah, so I'm just going to say, sucking and struggling when you don't have to doesn't make you tough. It makes you stupid. So swallow your pride, go seek mental health. So
100%. Like I say it to my son all the time, where like I'm like, you can't be brave unless you're scared.
There you go. Very well said.
Because if you do something that you're not scared of, you're not brave. You're just stupid.
Yeah, absolutely. Skydiving, you're not scared of it? Kind of dumb. You know, terrified, but you swallow that fear, you jump out of a plane anyway? Right on.
It's bravery.
There you go. I guess it's been a while. We've been on this podcast for over an hour. We'll just finish off with a couple questions for you, if you don't mind. So, number one,
Absolutely.
If anybody wants to get into the hobby of axe restoration, hanging an axe, what would you suggest? How would they get into it?
Be patient. Don't waste your money going on eBay and spending an exorbitant amount of money on a particular head that you like the style of or this, that, and the other. Go to a yard sale. Wait till yard sale season. Wait till barn sale season. Go on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist and find those, because you're going to be able to get a head or a product that is for $1, $2, $5, and figure out your process to the restoration with something that you didn't go, oh my goodness, I love jersey patterns. I'm going to look up jersey patterns, find an exorbitantly expensive one, and then look to eBay to find it because you don't know where else to look. Facebook Marketplace, look up, just search free in Facebook Marketplace, and I've gotten tools from there. Vintage tools, yard tools, barn finds, shit like that. And you'll find, lots of these old tools, and just message them, like, hey, I'm not really interested in the 200 spiral drills that you have. I'd really like just that one axe head that's sitting there. And 5 times out of 10, they'll say, no, I'm selling it as a lot, because they don't want to deal with the headache. And 5 times out of 10, they'll be like, cool, when can you come by? What do you want to pay for it? And it's cheap. So start on inexpensive stuff. That's also how you find like amazing rusty gold lottery tickets.
Absolutely. But I will say though, I guess with like the trend of social media and axe restoration blowing up like it has, sometimes you'll have like flea market people that vastly overprice their axe heads. So just do a little research before you go out there and you start spending money on axe heads, because there's gems and gold lottery tickets out there, but there's also just pigs wearing tuxedos.
Absolutely. There's my wife and I do antique store kind of loop, and there's one in particular where there's just a handful of vendors that rent the space to put their antiques, and half of the stuff is priced at 50% market value, and the other half is priced 200% of the market value. It's like, this dude doesn't know what he's talking about. He Google image searched this product and found the high end of what it was worth.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always the people that find out what people are pricing things at, not necessarily what they're selling at. So, yeah. Second question, what is your favorite axe head pattern?
Connecticut pattern. It's the best
Good
pattern
old
of all time.
Connie's, right on. Connie's, oh, they're priced at the top of the market. Oh, wow. Yeah, most American axe you can find.
Fortunately for me, since I'm in New England, I tend to find a lot of them. But yeah, that's one of those patterns where when you're on social media looking, they have not come down. They are up there.
Yeah, Connie's, same thing with Tazzie's. That's always the axe heads that everybody wants. In Alaska, that is, yeah, good luck finding one of those in the wild at all. I basically just have to turn to social media. But, yeah, no, Connie's, good choice. Solid. Right on. Any closing comments you want? What do you got going on in the future?
I have a couple more handle. I have two patterns that I'm in the process of developing for handles. One of which is effectively. I feel like I keep transitioning to straighter and straighter handles. So I had the classic, which is more curved. I had the mutt, which is straight with a curved and aggressive racing style palm swell. The next one is the FC, which is going to be effectively an Adirondack handle, but made for a single bit. So just dead nut straight with just a whip at the bottom.
Oh, nice.
And then I want to go the other way. I want to switch to. Then I need to actually do a French curved pattern. So those two are going to be coming up soon. Other than that, it's just I've really leaned into handle making, because through social media, it's been super lucrative super beneficial for me, and I have so much work coming in that like it's hard for me to think of what I'm gonna do next with the business when I'm just trying to focus on how can I still be a good and present dad while also trying to do this. And so I'd say the biggest thing is trying to find that good work-life, home-life balance and come out with a couple new patterns.
That work-home life balance, especially when you make content on social media, such a big thing that nobody really thinks about behind the scenes, because you're a dad, I'm a dad, working a full-time job, plus being a dad, plus making content. It's very, very hard sometimes to find the good balance between all those things. But hey, sounds like you're doing a pretty good job, especially since it helps your mental health. So yeah, that work-home life balance, huge deal. Very important to actually pin that down and figure out a solution that works.
Well, and the hard thing too that people don't realize, it's like people say that, okay, you have kids, you have your full-time job, and you have your side business. Like, you work a lot. Well, now add content creation, which is effectively a second side job. Because of how much time, I'm putting almost as much time into making these videos as I am the content, or actually building the axes, because I can't just hammer out a build. I have to stop this process, get the shit set up, make sure the audio's good. So then it's cutting into the efficiency of actually doing the work. But also, then I'm also adding those hours into editing, into audio mixing, into all that's posting. And because you can't just post one, you got to post here, 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 here. Oh, well, this place only allows, 2-minute long videos. But if it's on YouTube and it's under a minute, it's a short, and you can't post it as a long form, even though you really just want to post it as a long. There's a lot more that goes into the content creation side than I think people realize.
Yeah, everybody always, if you say, oh, well, I'm an influencer or I'm a content creator, everybody now always like just immediately dismisses you, and they look down and like, oh, fuck,
Yeah.
another. There's a lot of work that goes into it that people don't realize. If you're just kind of flaunting your ass on social media and you just post that, all right, people can talk shit for good reason. But if you're making legitimate good content, it takes so long to actually go from point A to point B when it comes to that. It takes me 2 to 3 times as long editing as it does to actually film. That's a lot of time out of the day.
Yep. Yeah, I expect, because I'm sure you do the same thing I do. You're not just going through it and editing it once. You're then gonna edit it, then go listen, go, oh man, I want to cut this out, or I want to add this back in, and then it's the second time, the third time before you're actually happy with the product, and you end up posting.
Oh yeah, sometimes even after you post, you're just like, fuck, should have done that. God damn it.
Yep, I should have had cool headphones in this.
Instead of just a little AirPod. Hey, closing comments. It's been a great episode so far, Ryan.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. No, it was really good just to talk. I feel like too often we get distracted in the group and we don't get to hang out like this. And I really, really genuinely appreciate, you wanting to do this. I love what you're doing. I love the attention and the message, and I'm glad to help out in any way that I possibly can. I love that you're supporting, what I'm doing. It's just a lot of feel good, and your content's fucking hilarious.
I appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely. Very first guest star on Ravenglade Axe History, so you got that to wear on you. Right on. No, yeah, I had a great time. I can't wait to do this again. Phenomenal. Hopefully we made each other's days better. You certainly made mine better, so.
Mine too, buddy.
Right on. Well, everybody, that's been Ryan Sarratori from Granite Kova. Right on. Appreciate you stopping by.
You're the only one that's ever said my last name.
Hell yeah. There you go. Score 1. All right, Ryan, I'll catch you later.
Thank you, buddy. Have a great day.
As well. That was Ryan Sarratori. So as you can see, brilliant individual. He's got a lot of really interesting outlooks and takes and viewpoints when it comes to axes, axe collecting, restoration, mental health, and all of the above. Everything that involves just daily life, essentially. And the message that he spreads about wanting everybody to just have a good day, I think is so important, I'll say. There's one thing that I wanted to point out, though, that over the course of the podcast, you might have heard Ryan talking about how taking something that is broken and making it not broken, if you feel broken yourself, sometimes is all it takes to really get a grasp on mental health. And though it might not be clay, paint, canvas, his medium is steel and wood. I thought that was just so nice, so interesting to hear. I'm a huge fan of Ryan, and I hope after the end of this you are as well. He's a super approachable guy. If you find him on social media, Granite Kova on all platforms except Instagram, Granite Kova Tools. If you find him, go ahead and send him a message. He's super approachable. He'll definitely help you out. Give him a follow. Heck, even give him some business if you so chose. Hopefully he can get around to actually giving you an axe that's going to be worth your time and you can pass down for multiple generations. So, like always, I'm Lyle McGraw. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Ravenglade Axe History Podcast.